talked about shares, and you see what happens when young people start surrounding themselves with characters like Rigathi Gachagua, who I will have to say is unfit to hold public office, even if it is the last thing I have to say. And my sister here, I do not have the time nor the crayons to explain to you how inflammatory those remarks are, because she made an analogy that it could only be made by a person who is as sharp as a marble, because she says if you take that statement and take it to a Form 2 student who's studying literature, they will just hear that this is what Rigathi Gachagua meant. I speak
that it was
with
a warning.
much pain,
because
in 2007 I was 10 years old. I am a young Luo man. We were displaced. We had to move severally in Nakuru. We had to go to Eldama Ravine. We had to go to Rongo. Then we had to move to Magadi. Then finally, that's where we found peace. When I hear about someone saying this, and just yesterday night, a friend of mine was telling me the way her dad lost a friend, was chopped by pangas. I cannot take this statement lightly, and you cannot use this as an example of literature because he knows about shares. You're talking to me about a person who's beating drums of war. People died. And when I castigate Rigathi Gachagua for such irresponsible statements, I castigate the Kenya Kwanza people who say that kura zisipotosha tutajaza as well. But I will dwell on this thing because anyone who tries to say that 2007 can look like Christmas when people were burnt in a church, you're trying to tell me that the presidency is more important to you than the nation. If we are to talk about people who've been denied power, my party leader should have the most vitriol. But he knows what good nationhood is, unlike this old man called Rigathi Gachagua, who all he knows is to insult people. All he knows is to beat the drums of war. I am saying this as a person who has seen the side effects of war. That's why I will not let it fly, regardless of what it is your party is. And I want to warn everyone in the political class. I've already sounded a warning to Mr. Farouk Kibet, who thinks that it is chic to talk about the breaking of human rights laws. And if that is what you think is a government strategy, I have to say it, because government performs better than you, who by day you're an alleged opposition, by night your people are trying to call to State House to get money and collect money in parking lots. When you hear certain people, even like Osoro, who tries to talk about Rigathi Gachagua badly so that it looks like we're on the same team, while saying that if you do not have money if you cannot support government, give money as offerings in churches and give money to people in the ground, they're trying to bring this thing back to the tribal and money-based thing. And I want to sound a warning, because I still believe the Orange Democratic Movement is going to capture power. That our members of parliament, members of the ODM, I want to speak to you directly, do not allow our party to face the things that I have seen people like Mudavadi's party face. Because when we are seated in a public gathering and a member of a different party, a party leader, just like Wajakoya, just like Morara, for example, or like Maliba, I don't believe that Njeri's party has a party leader. If another party leader can come to a function of our longest serving members and make a joke, take a jab at our Secretary General and say that wewe Sifuna ukiendelea hivi nitaita meeting ya founding members na tukwe, and we laugh as a people. If we can let the spokesperson of our party face ridicule from another party leader, because now he ceases to be a president. When I'm talking on behalf of the Orange Democratic Movement, I interact with the president as a party leader. If we can come to our function and make such jokes about our spokesperson, it means that in 2027, if we are not careful, if we are still the people who are shouting Kumi Bila break, we will have no party. This is, and I'm sounding a warning across the board, because we believe as the Youth League will capture the power in 2027. However, anyone, and I will say this without fear of contradiction, if these statements come out of our leaders' mouths, people who when you hear him, Rigathi Gachagua is always talking very tribally, saying that Nairobi will be controlled by Gema. I say he's unfit for office. Very tribally saying serikali ya shareholders, he's unfit for office. He's the same person who kept on saying, ukiona Raila nakataa kitu juu ni kitu mbaya. And he's the same person who encouraged all his MPs in Central to vote yes for the finance bill last year that brought us out. And that's why I'm very happy he was impeached, because he is a two-faced serpent. He's a dragon, because if you allow him anywhere close to power, he's going to bring this country to ruin. And just let me land. The chapter that talks about the executive in the Constitution if you're thinking about this as the 10 commandments, the 10 commandments get to a commandment which says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The executive chapter here says, is a mirror of chapter 1, because even the writers of the Constitution saw the tempers of the time and saw that the executive is the most powerful organ. It reminds them that the executive only derives its power from the sovereign power, which is the people. If we reduce this country to a conversation about who is going to run the executive and neglect all others, we want to remind you that it is we, the people, who are sovereign. And anytime people want to besmirch the personhood of Raila Amolo Odinga, to lump him, because he has always firmly stood with the people. And now we want to make other people look like, because you were impeached,